Nobody tells you it's going to feel like this. Not the movies, not your boys, not the motivational pages that tell you to hit the gym and move on. Nobody actually prepares you for the moment you're sitting alone at 2 a.m., staring at your phone, replaying conversations that no longer matter, wondering how someone who was your whole world can suddenly feel like a stranger. And the worst part? As a man, you're expected to just handle it, swallow it, keep moving, be strong. But here's what nobody tells you. Handling heartbreak isn't about not feeling it. It's about refusing to be destroyed by it. Today, we're going through 10 principles drawn from psychology, philosophy, and hard human truth that will help you not just survive this, but come out the other side as someone fundamentally harder, clearer, and more grounded than the man who walked in. This is not a video about forgetting her. It's a video about remembering yourself. Principle 1. Feel it fully. Just don't live there. Let's start with the thing no one wants to say out loud. The pain is real. It is not weakness. It is not embarrassing. It is neuroscience. Neurologist and psychiatrist Dr. Helen Fisher used fMRI brain scans to study people who had just been rejected in love. What she found was startling. The same regions of the brain that light up during cocaine withdrawal lit up in people experiencing heartbreak. The ventral tegmental area, the brain's craving and reward center, goes into overdrive. You are not being dramatic. You are going through a legitimate form of withdrawal. So the first mistake men make is trying to skip this part. Numbing it with alcohol, overworking, jumping into something new before the wound closes. But suppressed grief doesn't disappear. It goes underground, and it comes back louder. Psychologist Carl Rogers, the father of humanistic therapy, taught that the curious paradox of human emotion is this: when you fully accept what you feel, without judgment, without resistance, it begins to change. The pain doesn't last forever, but the pain you refuse to feel, that one sticks around. Feel it. Cry if you need to. Sit in the silence. Give yourself 48 hours where you don't try to fix it. Then get up. Because feeling it and living in it are two completely different things. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Carl Rogers, psychologist. Principle 2. Your identity was never hers to hold. Here's a question that's going to be uncomfortable. Who were you before her? If you have to think hard about that, that's the real problem, not the breakup. One of the most dangerous things that happens in relationships, especially deep ones, is what psychologists call identity fusion. You slowly absorb the other person into your sense of self. Her opinions become your compass. Her validation becomes your fuel. Her presence becomes your home. So when she leaves, you don't just lose her, you lose your address. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche was ruthless about this. He believed that the man who has no strong sense of self is the most dangerous kind of man, not to others, but to himself, because he is always at the mercy of whoever is closest to him. The work now is not to find someone new. The work is to find yourself again, your own opinions, your own goals, your own definition of a good day. Not built around her, built around you. Psychologist Nathaniel Branden spent his career studying self-esteem. His conclusion was clear. A man who builds his identity on external relationships will always be one goodbye away from collapse. The foundation has to be internal. She didn't take your identity when she left, but you may have given it to her while she was still there. Time to take it back. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. To be your own man is a hard business. Rudyard Kipling, author and philosopher. Principle 3. Pain is information. Start reading it. Most men treat heartbreak like a fire alarm, something to silence as fast as possible so life can go back to normal. But the alarm is not the problem. The alarm is telling you something.
Existential philosopher Albert Camus argued that the most important question a man can face is not how to be happy, but how to live honestly in the face of pain. And living honestly starts with asking, what is this pain actually pointing at? Was it that you loved her? Or was it that she made you feel worthy, and now you're terrified you're not? Was it that you lost her? Or that you lost the version of yourself you were becoming with her? Psychotherapist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl taught that suffering without meaning is the most destructive force in a human life. But suffering with meaning becomes a foundation, a compass, a teacher. So instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this pain trying to show me about myself?
The men who come out of heartbreak stronger are not the ones who felt less. They are the ones who paid attention. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher. Principle 4. Stop romanticizing what wasn't perfect. The brain does something cruel after a breakup. It curates. It takes every good memory, every perfect moment, every laugh and quiet morning, and it plays them on a loop. And it buries the arguments, the incompatibilities, the times you felt unseen, the nights you went to sleep feeling alone, even when she was right there. Psychologists call this rosy retrospection, the brain's tendency to remember past experiences more positively than they actually were. Combined with the dopamine crash of heartbreak, it creates a highlight reel that never existed. You're not missing her. You're missing a version of her your brain invented. Buddhist philosophy has a direct answer to this. The concept of impermanence, anicca, teaches that clinging to things as they were, rather than seeing them as they are, is the root of human suffering. You are suffering not because of the relationship that existed, but because of the one you keep rebuilding in your head. Write down, right now, 10 things about that relationship that genuinely didn't work. Not to be bitter, but to be honest. Grief the real thing, not the fiction. In the end, only 3 things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Buddhist teaching. Principle 5. Discipline is not a distraction. It is a declaration. Now, and only now, the gym conversation makes sense. Not as a way to suppress what you're feeling, not to look good for someone new, but as a declaration to yourself that you still have authority over your own body and mind, even when your emotions are telling a different story. Neuroscience shows that physical exercise triggers the release of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which literally stimulates the growth of new neural connections. After emotional trauma, which genuinely alters brain chemistry, this is not optional self-care. It is neurological repair. Aristotle taught that virtue, excellence of character, is built through action, not intention. You don't think your way to becoming a stronger man. You act your way there. Every morning you get up and do what you said you'd do is a vote cast for the man you're becoming. The routine doesn't have to be dramatic. Wake up at the same time, move your body, read, eat well, repeat. These are not small things. In the aftermath of heartbreak, these are the building blocks of a self that no one can take from you. She can leave. Your discipline stays. That's the most honest thing anyone can tell you right now. First, forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you're inspired or not. Octavia Butler, author and philosopher. Principle 6. Silence the urge to reach out. You know the feeling. It's 11 p.m. Something reminded you of her. Your thumb is hovering over her name. Don't. Not because you're playing games, not because you're being cold, but because what you're chasing in that moment is not her. It is relief from your own discomfort. And relief bought with a text message never lasts. Psychologist Walter Mischel's famous marshmallow studies, decades of research on delayed gratification,
showed that the ability to sit with discomfort without immediately acting on it is one of the strongest predictors of long-term psychological well-being. The men who can hold the impulse and not act on it are the men who build better lives. Philosopher Immanuel Kant spoke of rational autonomy, the idea that a truly free man acts from reason, not impulse. Every time you choose not to reach out, you are exercising that freedom. You are choosing the man you want to be over the wound that wants to be soothed. Each day of no contact is not distance from her. It is distance from the version of you that still needs her to feel okay. You have power over your impulses. The moment you choose reason over reaction, you reclaim yourself. William James, psychologist and philosopher. Principle 7. Talk about it. Silence is not strength. Here's one of the most damaging lies men are told: that talking about your pain makes you weak. It doesn't. Silence does. Psychologist James Pennebaker spent decades researching the effects of emotional expression on physical and mental health. His findings were unambiguous. Men who wrote about or verbally expressed their emotional pain after trauma showed measurably stronger immune responses, lower cortisol levels, and faster psychological recovery than those who stayed silent. There is a biological cost to suppression, and there is a biological benefit to expression. You don't have to post about it. You don't have to cry to strangers. But find one person, one trusted man, and say out loud, "I'm not okay right now."
Those 5 words have more power than 5 months of pretending. African philosophy, specifically the Ubuntu tradition, teaches, "I am because we are." Human beings are not designed for isolation. Connection is not weakness, it is biology. Refusing it is not strength, it is self-destruction with good posture. Real strength is knowing when to ask for support and doing it anyway. Unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. Sigmund Freud, neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis. Principle 8. Forgiveness is not for her, it is for you. At some point in this process, you're going to have to make a decision about anger. Anger is normal. Anger is useful for a while. It creates distance when distance is needed. It protects you when you're still raw. But anger that stays too long stops being protection and starts being a prison. Psychologist Fred Luskin at Stanford University, who ran some of the most extensive studies on forgiveness ever conducted, found that people who practiced forgiveness showed significant reductions in depression, anxiety, and physical stress symptoms. Not because what was done to them was acceptable, but because carrying resentment is physiologically expensive. Here's the reframe. Forgiveness is not absolution. It is not saying what happened was fine. It is not reconciliation. It is simply the decision to stop letting a past event have a permanent seat at the table of your present life. Nelson Mandela, a man who had every reason for lifelong bitterness, said that resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it kills your enemy. He walked out of 27 years in prison and chose not to carry the weight of his captors with him. You don't have to forget. You don't have to reach out. You don't even have to wish her well right now. You just have to put the poison down. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. Nelson Mandela, statesman and philosopher of freedom. Principle 9. Redefine what this chapter means. Here is one of the most powerful things you can do right now, and almost nobody does it. Decide what this experience means. Not what it happened. You can't change that. But meaning is not fixed. Meaning is something you assign, and you have the power to assign it deliberately. Psychologist Martin Seligman, the founder of positive psychology, identified what he called post-traumatic growth.
the documented phenomenon where individuals who experience deep personal loss or trauma emerge with stronger relationships, deeper empathy, greater clarity of purpose, and a more meaningful relationship with their own life. Not despite what happened, because of how they processed it. Philosopher Viktor Frankl, again, said that everything can be taken from a man except the last of human freedoms, the freedom to choose one's own attitude toward any given set of circumstances. So choose. Decide right now that this is not the story of how she broke you. This is the story of how you built yourself. That reframe doesn't erase the pain, but it changes where you're walking. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and author of Man's Search for Meaning. Principle 10. The man who comes out the other side is not who went in. This is the principle all the others are building toward. There is a version of you on the other side of this that you have not met yet. A man who is less naive, but more open. Less dependent, but more loving. Less afraid of loss, because he has already survived it. Carl Jung wrote about what he called the individuation process, the idea that genuine psychological maturity cannot happen without confrontation with your own shadow, your fears, your wounds, your unexamined patterns. Heartbreak forces that confrontation. It holds a mirror up to every unhealed part of you and says, "Deal with this now." Most men run from that mirror. The ones who don't, who sit with it, who work through it, emerge fundamentally different. Not harder in the way that shuts people out, harder in the way that can bear more weight without collapsing. Japanese philosophy has a concept called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with gold. The philosophy is that the breakage is not something to hide. It is part of the history of the object. And when repaired with care, the broken thing becomes more beautiful, more valuable, and more unique than it was before it shattered. You are not broken beyond repair. You are broken in a way that, if you do the work, will make you extraordinary. The pain ends. The growth doesn't have to. What does not kill me makes me stronger. Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher. Let me leave you with this. Heartbreak is not the end of your story. It is the chapter where the real story begins.
Feel it fully, but don't live there. Reclaim your identity. Read the pain for what it's teaching you. Stop romanticizing what wasn't perfect. Build your discipline as a declaration. Resist the urge to reach out. Talk to someone you trust. Put down the resentment. Redefine what this means. And walk toward the man waiting for you on the other side of this. Nobody comes through fire unchanged. The question is whether you come through it as ash or as steel. You already survived the hardest night. You're still here. That counts for more than you know. If this spoke to you, share it with a man who needs to hear it. And subscribe. There's more where this came from. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by becoming someone the pain couldn't stop.